Who here has attended university in the past or is currently going to university? Okay, lovely. Well, I didn't go to university. I got sick and I dropped it out of school at 17 and I never went back. I had Epstein-Barr virus and chronic fatigue and I would sleep 19 hours a day. So I didn't get to go to university. So at a lot of universities, somebody stands at the front of the room, what do they call them? The lecturer, and they lecture. I don't lecture. So this is going to be a very interactive workshop where I'm going to give you ideas and then you're going to have an opportunity to implement them immediately. Because what we know is that we go to university and currently it takes about 4 years since you leave university till you can really get up to speed. And it's because in university we learn a lot of theoretical ideas. We consume great knowledge, but it does take a while to implement it. So what I'm going to give you today are practical ideas. And what we know is with a practical idea, you can apply it and you'll get an immediate result. It'll either work for you or it won't. But I promise that these ideas today, they'll work for you as long as you apply them. And what will happen is you'll get an immediate result. Sound okay? Good. Well, thank you for making the sacrifices to be here. I know that you've left work early, you're between classes, you've dodged the rain, and I appreciate that you've taken time out to learn. And one of my greatest discoveries over the years is that the rate of information on our planet is doubling every 4 to 5 years. And what that means for us is that the information that we have becomes redundant by 50% every 2.5 years. So by the time we consume knowledge and apply it, oftentimes it's outdated. So what we have to do is we have to continually learn. And most people, you'll discover this, once they leave school, they never pick up another book. The average adult reads 1 book per year after they leave school. Imagine that, 1 book per year. So when they come into business and they're doing their executive work, their knowledge could be 5, 10, 15, 20 years old, and it has no application in the real world. So what the most successful people do is they remain in a learning state and they constantly learn new ideas. And if you want to get to the top of your field, you've got to be able to learn new ideas. So there's 3 things that attribute to success in all worldly activities. And the first one is knowledge. And your knowledge will attribute to about 7.5% of your success. Knowledge. According to the Carnegie studies that were done in the 1900s, knowledge contributes to only 7.5% of your success. Skills, these are the things that we must have to do our jobs effectively. But skill only contributes to about 7.5% of your success. So between the knowledge you have and the skills that you've acquired, this only contributes to 15% of your success. But how much time do we spend in school? 15 years, 16 years, 17 years? And what they discovered in the Carnegie studies was that fully 85% of your success comes down to your mental attitude. And this is the importance of emotional intelligence. From the work of General Goleman of Harvard University, he says that social intelligence, your ability to look at other people, to be able to read their emotional makeup, and then to be able to communicate and get ideas across the table will equal up to 85% of your success in business. So we've known it since the 1900s. It's been proven by Harvard that we need to have social intelligence. So these ideas that I'm going to share with you today, I've discovered these. They've been rediscovered by the most successful people all around the world. And what we have to do is we have to discover them in our own lives. And only a couple of years ago, I used to work here in Sydney. And my job was to control traffic. You know those people, they wear the blue pants and they have reflective material and they hold a stop slow sign. See, I was uneducated and I had to get a job. And that was the only job that I could get in 2008. It'd be pouring rain. It'd be 4 and 5 degrees in Sydney. And I'd stand on the side of the road. And I said, this is not the life that I want to live. Is this where I want to be in 20 or 30 years holding this stop slow sign? So I made a decision that I had to do something different, because if I kept doing what I'd always done, I'd get more of what I already got, which was standing on the side of the street. So I started to look at successful people, and I realized that intelligent people, successful people, had this ability to communicate. So I started to learn about self-made millionaires and self-made billionaires, and they were all emotionally intelligent. And what I discovered that there was 5 key areas of emotional intelligence, and I'm going to show you these 5 key areas today. Business people like you have applied these in their businesses, and their results have gone up. A young woman in the western suburbs applied these ideas, and over the past 4 years, she has increased her income by 50% every year. She was doing $2 million a month in sales. She's now doing $7 million a month. Single mum, one income. We have business people in Melbourne who are applying these same ideas. They had 1% of market share 18 months ago. Today they have 9.4%. And their sales have gone up 250%. And now they're the number 1 CEOs of all of Victoria for Ray White Real Estate. We've also had new Australians come here. People who were born out of the country, who have come here on student visas. And one gentleman by the name of Sam has tripled his income every year. He's gone from job to job to job, and people have paid him more and more and more because he has an ability to get along well with people. And companies today are looking for people who can get along with other people. You've had these experiences, haven't you? There's a manager who just mismanages you all the time. How do you feel at the end of the day? Deflated? The next day you don't want to go back to work. There could be people bullying you in the workplace. How do you deal with these people? Well, it comes down to our emotional intelligence. So I'm going to give you some really good ideas today. So let's begin. Now, there's 5 pillars of emotional intelligence, and I'm going to give you the first 3. The first one is self-awareness. Now, self-awareness is your ability to understand why you think and feel the way that you do. But only 36% of the population can catch their thoughts and feelings and articulate them at any given moment. Have you just felt downright bad for no reason? Have you just felt that you've been in a mental rut and you don't know why you're feeling down and out? We had a businessman in Sydney. Every morning for 2 years, he got up, he had anxiety, and he vomited. He woke up, vomited, and went to work. And this went on and on and on. And I said, "What's on your mind?" He said, "I don't know. I'm just sick every single morning." Now, because he didn't know what he was thinking, he couldn't control those thoughts. And I kept asking him, "What's on your mind?" Anyway, 2 years later, he lost his business. A year after that, he had sold everything and he moved up to Queensland. And I saw him one day and I said, "What's happening in your life?" He said, "You wouldn't believe it, I've gone bankrupt." He said, I've had to sell my business, I've had to sell my homes, and my wife left me. And I said, "What happened?" He said, "I owed the tax department $1 million. And I said, "You owed the tax department $1 million. Why didn't you mention this?" He said, "It never crossed my mind." Imagine that, $1 million. You know how much that is? Imagine owing the tax department that. You might get your tax return at the end of the year, it might be $10,000, but he owed $1 million and he didn't realise what was making him sick. So in business today, in the adult population, only 36% of the population know what they're thinking and they're feeling. Now, this consists of what we want in life. Self-awareness is understanding our aims, our goals, our objectives, the things that we like and the things that we dislike. And a lot of people aren't sure of what they want. According to Mark McCormack, in a book that he wrote called What They Don't Teach You at Harvard, he discovered that 84% of the population don't know what they want. Could you imagine that? 84% of people, you ask them, "What do you want from your life?" and they'll say, "I don't know." That's an example of lower emotional intelligence because they're not self-aware. 13% of the population had dreams and ambitions, but they never created plans to achieve them. And 3%, according to Mark McCormack, knew exactly what they wanted. And they had goals, objectives, strategies and plans and activities to achieve that. And he followed these people around for a decade. And 10 years later, he brought all of these people back together and he said, "How's life?" He said to the people who are in the 84% of the population, "What's happening?" Their income had gone up by 2 to 3% every year. And he said, "What's happening in life?" They said, "Not much. Where are you going? Don't know." The 13% of the population who had a dream and a wish, they had doubled their income over a 10-year period. Pretty good, hey? Because they just thought about what they wanted. They weren't really sure. But that 3% who were very clear on what they wanted and where they were going and how they're going to get it, all of those people were earning 10 times more than the other 97% combined. And that's self-awareness. It's knowing what you want. And the earlier on in your life you can discover what you want, the faster you can move towards it. And the clearer you are about what you want, the easier it is to see it in your mind. So remember, your conscious mind is your goal setter. You've got to ask yourself, what do I want? And then you've got to decide. And then what your unconscious mind does, which is reported to be 30,000 times more powerful than your conscious mind, it will go after what you want 24 hours a day. And we call that your goal getter. So your conscious mind is your goal setter and your unconscious mind is your goal getter. Does it make sense? And that's self-awareness. Good to see you there. So that's self-awareness. The second area is self-regulation. And self-regulation is your ability to control your thoughts. It's your ability to control your feelings. Have you ever had a thought in your mind and all of a sudden it grows and grows and all of a sudden you can't control that thought anymore? Have you had these things? You think somebody's talking about it and you become obsessed about it. You get up in the morning, you feel anxious and you can't get rid of that anxiety. This is self-regulation. And if we don't know what's holding us back in terms of our thoughts and our feelings, and we can't regulate it, those feelings just take control and we lose control. And anybody who can't control their emotions is going to struggle with motivation. Does that make sense? So that's self-regulation. You have to be able to stop your thoughts. About 70 to 80% of the thoughts we have at any given time are counterproductive to what we're trying to do. We say, I want to be a self-made millionaire, and then we go, oh, am I worth it? We say, I want to go out and make sales, but we have a fear of rejection. We want to start our own business, but then we get a feeling of a fear of failure. And these are the things that hold us back. And according to Inc. magazine, 43% of the population at any given time has a fear of failure, has a fear of rejection, has a fear of criticism. What happens? You want to pick up that telephone and call, and all these good ideas about what you're going to say to that person on the other end all of a sudden disappear because the fear of failure comes up, and maybe it's now time for coffee. Maybe I've got to go to the bathroom. Maybe I've got to walk around the block. And if you can't control those thoughts, it's very hard to succeed. So you've got to constantly work on self-regulation, being in control of your thoughts and being in control of your emotions. And I'll show you how to do that shortly. The third area of emotional intelligence is motivation. And this is your ability to go after what you want. And you've probably seen this in your parents' lives. They take one step forward and they move 2 steps back. And they're working really hard to achieve something. And it looks like they're going further and further back in life. One of the most interesting things I've discovered is that the highest income earning years of your life begin between the age of 40 and 45. Because what happens for 20 years, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And according to the American Management Association, 70% of the decisions that you make in your life will turn out to be wrong. So the first part of your life is about falling over and getting back up. Falling over, getting back up. And there's a Japanese proverb that says, fall down 8 times, stand up 9 times. And this is where you need a lot of motivation. How old are you now?
How's mine?
Yep.
55.
55. For the first part of the life, most of the things just go wrong. And then you finally get it, you go, this is how to do it. And so what you've got to be able to do here is keep getting back up. 99% of the population have a simultaneous fear of rejection and criticism. 99%. So every person that you meet, what they're worried about is if you're going to judge them. And this is one of the biggest killers of success in adult life. So you have to have the motivation to keep moving forward even when you're failing. So make a rule in your life that you're going to fail forward. I used to be really good looking, believe it or not. I used to be really good looking, but I've failed so many times and fallen flat on my face, but I keep getting back up. And that's what you've got to do in your life. Fall down and get back up. And that's motivation. Now, we're going to start to do some group work in a moment. I'm going to give you a formula here, and it's called individual human potential. And in your life, according to neuroscience, you have more than 100 million neurons, which are connected to 20,000 other neurons. And what this means is that you can think more thoughts than all the stars in the known universe. You can think more thoughts than all the grains of sand on all the beaches on the world. And what we have in this lifetime is we have more potential in this lifetime than we could possibly use in 100. But most of us don't know how to access it. They say that Einstein used up to about 15% of his potential. But the average person in our population uses as little as 2% of their potential. Fully 84% of the population feel that they should be so much further along in their life. They should have better relationships. They should have better careers. They should be more financially independent. So let's do a survey. Do you feel that right now you're performing at your best? Or do you feel that there's so much more in you that if you could just get a little bit more out, you could get to the next level of career success, of business success? Let's see a show of hands. If you think you're underperforming, let's see a show of hands. Good. 84% of the population. So individual human potential formula will help you unlock more of your potential. So here's the formula. First of all, IA. This stands for inborn attributes. All of you have attributes that are unique to you that nobody else has. These things are passed on from your mother and they're passed on from your father. As those 15,000 genomes from mum and dad come together, what happens is you create somebody who's very unique. And when I was at school, all I wanted to be was like everybody else. I wanted to fit in. And then when I got older, I went, you know what? I just want to be unique. I want to be more like me. I think the world needs me, not a clone of a Brad Pitt, not a clone of an Angelina Jolie, not another Kardashian or another Kanye. We've got those already. We need more of you. So individual human potential, we have to understand what are your inborn attributes. So here's an example. My father's uneducated. He got rheumatic fever, didn't go to school, his teeth fell out. He didn't have teeth till he was 19 and he was a farmer. But one thing I learned from my father was the work ethic of a farmer. So with a farmer, you get up early in the morning at 5 o'clock, you go to work, you don't come home for lunch at 12 o'clock, you don't come home at 5 o'clock, you come home when the work is done. And sometimes for my father, I remember for 30 years, he would get up at 5 and come home at 7 o'clock. He'd have dinner. He'd go back to work till 11 o'clock. He'd come home to bed. He'd get back up at 4 a.m., go to work at 5. And this is an inborn attribute that is in my bloodline. Does that make sense? It's in my bloodline. And you're going to have these things and you're probably just not using them to your full potential. My mother, she was uneducated. She was a hairdresser. She became a farmer. She became a businesswoman. But she became a businesswoman who could manage and turn around any business and become a self-made millionaire many times over. So what I get in my bloodline is this ability to look at a business and make it into a multi-million-dollar business. And then it exists in my bloodline. So I have the work ethic of a farmer and the ideas of an entrepreneur. And that becomes part of my inborn attribute. Does that make sense? Yeah. So your job now is to think about what are some of these qualities that you get from your parents. What's a quality that you get from your mother? What's a quality that you get from your father? And this is one of your inborn attributes. So I want you to spend 30 seconds each and write down here inborn attribute and figure out what's something that your parents are incredibly good at. Maybe it's being an expatriate, living overseas, having a big family. There's going to be things that are unique to you. Once you've got them down, I want you to turn to the person next to you, say hello, and tell them what your inborn attributes are. Because we have to be able to articulate this in emotional intelligence.
How many attributes? 5?
Just one. One from your father and one from your mother. Because this is what helps you become unique. It could be where you were born, what was happening in the place where you were born. I've got a lot of clients who are Assyrian, they're from Iraq. So they've been able to live in a war-torn country. They've only known war. So when they come to Australia, they've experienced peace. But they've known how to fight for what they want, above and beyond anybody else. So what's an inborn attribute? What's a quality that you get from your mother? What's a quality that you get from your father? And let's hear some. Okay, starting on the left-hand side, Isaac. My brother. What do you got? What's an inborn attribute from
My dad
from
was good at sales, telephone sales. I'm trying to think from my mum. And she's very good at gardening, and I've got a green thumb, so
Okay.
maybe that's
A salesperson with a green thumb. So sales should keep growing.
Yeah, there you go. That's the first two things that came to my mind.
See, these things we've always got within us, but we don't know how to utilise it. It's like I think, okay, my dad's a farmer. He's done this. It's programmed into me. How can I leverage that for success and potential in my life? Tofan, what do you got?
My father, basically, he is persistence.
Okay.
If he wants to do something, and then he go for it, and that's what he is done. And then,
Well, you need that quality in business.
Yeah, and then like my mother, more like she's like empathy, like and care for more people, and then taking care of everyone. I think that's the best.
So you can be a businessman who's persistent and he doesn't stop till he gets what he wants, whilst caring for everybody along the way.
Yeah.
Interesting quality. Okay, excellent. Interesting question here. Somebody sets a goal. How many times do you think they attempt that goal before they give up on the goal? How many times do you think somebody attempts a goal before they give up on the goal?
5 times.
5 times? Twice? Do I hear 3 times? 4 times? 2? 3? 2 or 3 times? 2? Less than once. The average amount of times that somebody will try something before they give up is less than once.
Even not trying.
That's it. They go, oh, this is what I want, and they don't even try. And you've got to look at this and think, that's my competition. That's my competitor. That's the person who wants to get the same job as me. But when you think about the average population gives up before the very first attempt, how strong are your competition? Or are they just weak? They're weak, aren't they? They don't have that emotional intelligence. They don't have that motivation to keep going forward. So there is not a lot of competition here in Australia. And you've got to remember that. All you've got to do is attempt it twice, and you've attempted it twice whilst they still haven't even tried. Excellent. Michael, what have you got there? Inborn attribute from your father?
Coach mentor.
Coach mentor.
And my mother was very independent.
Okay. Excellent. And will you be able to use this in your new ventures, those qualities?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So we've got inborn attributes. We then have acquired attributes, and this is very important. You have unique learnings throughout your life. And a learning is something that's you've got from university, from a book, from a course, but it also comes from your successes and your failures. What happens in business is if we double our rate of failure, we'll double our rate of success. Because most of the time, because of what the American Management Association says, 70% of the things that you do will turn out to be wrong. So if we can keep learning from our failures, in the future we say, I've tried that before, I won't do that. I've tried that before, I won't do that. And you stop repeating those mistakes. So think about, on the flip side, 30% of your decisions are going to be so good in your life that you can become a self-made millionaire. Just 30%. 7 out of 10 decisions will be terrible. You've had a boyfriend, correct, and he was terrible. And then eventually you'll get a boyfriend who's perfect for you. At my wedding, I made a speech and I said, dating is like a game of Dungeons and Dragons. You're going to slay a lot of dragons before you get the princess. You're going to kiss a lot of toads before you get the prince, correct? Absolutely. So you've got to keep moving forward. Acquired attributes. I want you to write down, what are some of the most important things you've learned in your lifetime? It could be something that you've picked up from university, information that you can resell to other people. So what are some of these acquired attributes? Maybe you were born in a foreign country and you've come to Australia. Did you know the highest number of self-made millionaires in America were not even born in America? They came from migrant families who came to America with no English skills, no language skills. And they started in the bottom 10%, and in a few short years, they rise to the top 10%. A couple of years ago in America, the highest number of self-made millionaires were actually dry cleaners. So what are some of these acquired attributes? Have you had to leave your home country and move to a foreign land? Because with that comes resiliency, comes adaptability. And in the American Marines, they say, adapt, adjust, and respond. And it's not the strongest of the species that survives, it's the most adaptable to change. Not the strongest, it's the most adaptable to change. Okay, what are some of the acquired attributes that you've picked up over the years?
I was on the adaptability.
Adaptability, okay.
We move a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was really uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Now it's just very used to it.
Excellent, good. Have you heard of the death postcode? Have you heard of this? The majority of people on this planet will die within 25 miles of where they were born. 25 miles of where they were born. And this is because of the comfort zone. They become so comfortable and they live in fear. Oh, I'm so scared to move. What happens if it doesn't go right? What if it goes wrong? So they live and die within 25 miles of where they were born. That's not you. You've already got a competitive advantage. Well done. Alan, what's an acquired attribute?
Tenacity.
Tenacity. And how did you learn tenacity?
Still learning it. Yeah. I've failed so many times and then seen that if I'm stuck to it, I will really succeed.
How many languages do you speak? 4 or 5? 3. Okay, 3 languages. You've got children who are half Korean.
Mm-hmm.
That's another acquired attribute. Mm-hmm. Because what you have to do, you have to totally reinvent everything that you know about relating to a partner and to a family.
Mm-hmm.
I have the same thing. I learn how to be in a Taiwanese marriage, how to be in a Taiwanese society. And that's a great attribute because what it gives you a competitive advantage because you can deal with so many different cultures.
Mm.
Who speaks Chinese? Is the world a different place in your Chinese brain than in your English brain? It's totally different. It's a different place. My wife calls everybody, all the women, she'll call a he, and all the men, she'll call a she. Because in your language, you don't separate the two. When I lived in Dubai, I learned that in the language of Arabic, you cannot fly an aircraft in Arabic. Did you know that? The language that all air flying is in English, because these concepts don't exist in other languages. In Dubai, they say, Inshallah. Inshallah means if God's will. If God's will, I will do something. So you say, would you like to come to my course tomorrow? They'll say, Inshallah. I'll say, what's that? They'll say, well, if God wills me to come, I'll be there. But in Australia, we're either coming or we're not. And so the world is a different place. And this is an acquired attribute. It's like in Taiwan and China, when we speak to people who are older or younger, Jie, Mei Mei, Didi, Gurga, we always are finding where our place is in society based on age. And then we respond. My daughter's 6.5. She knows who the older sisters are and she responds accordingly. But see, that doesn't exist in Australia. But when she comes in with a different approach and she gives her elders a much greater level of respect. When we grew up, all our parents' friends were either uncle or auntie or Mr. or Mrs. But in the younger generation, that's now changed. So these are things that we have. Now, the final part and the third part of the individual human potential formula is attitude. Attitude, in my opinion, is our angle of approach. It's how we move towards that thing that we want. Attitude is how we move towards it. So in business, in sales, you can move towards a prospect with a fear of rejection. But what does it feel like, Isaac? It's like, oh, they're going to say no, they're going to say no, they're going to say no. Versus moving towards them with an attitude of confident expectation, saying, I can solve your problem. I can get you out of the, sounds like hit. I can get you out of that problem. And what happens is as you move towards that, they respond differently. Think about in the past, you might have seen a cute guy and you wanted to approach him, but you're like, oh, what if he says no? What if he doesn't like me? What if he's got a girlfriend? And you talk yourself out of doing something. That's how we approach it. Or you could just approach it to make a friend. Hi, how you doing? I'm Daniel. What brings you here today? Totally different way to go about things. So your attitude is your angle of approach. So I want you to ask yourself the question, for your career success, how do you need to approach your career success? Do you need to approach it with scarcity? There's not enough money, there's not enough time, there's not enough competition, the competitors are too strong and I'll never have success? Are you going to approach your career like that? Or are you going to approach it like Conor McGregor, walking into the octagon, just throwing his hands around saying, I'm going to win this. I'm going to take all. How are you going to approach your career for success? Varsha, what's the attitude that you're going to have to be successful in your field?
Avoid having assumptions about what other people think of you.
Yep. So that'd be a fear of criticism or rejection. You want to move to it like that?
Yes.
Or you'll move to it with confident expectations and acceptance. Of course they want to save money. Of course they want to save time. Of course they want to grow their business. And they'd be crazy not to listen to me. Move to it like that. What will happen if you move to it like that?
Irrespective of what criticism you receive, you still will be able to present what you have with you. And no matter what, if there is a need in the opposite side, irrespective of that, you still will be able to communicate what you want to.
Excellent. So you've got to move towards things with the right attitude. If there's fears, fear and desire are two different energies. So what's the attitude that you'll need to adopt to succeed in your career? And I'll give you 30 seconds and I want you to share it with the person next to you. Say hello, smile, shake their hand, and tell them what attitude you'll need to have career success. I'll give you 30 seconds. Go.
Okay, you're going.
Nobody here bites, I guarantee. Just see, mate. Look them all.
Yeah, thank you. It's popcorn in the kettle black.
Similarly optimistic. I agree. What I think is perseverance. Like we all fail at some point in lifetime, and the right attitude should.
Toba, my brother.
Good to see you.
How are you, mate?
Very
Just in time.
In fact, in fact, was leaving because of weather.
Okay, mate. Where'd you come from? Straight from the airport?
Yeah.
Okay. Have a seat next to Alan, and Alan will bring you up to speed. This is one of my clients and one of my students as well.
Okay.
Alan, this is Toby, who's come all the way down from Queensland.
Yeah.
There you go, mate. Enjoy. We'll bring you up to speed. I've also recorded it, so later on I'll give you a copy of the recording. We'll spend some time together after. Okay, let's do a quick check-in, starting at the back. Loz, what's the attitude that you'll need to have as you move towards career success?
Mine's abundance.
Abundance.
Always thinking about what's better, what's coming. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. What will you use?
Mine was optimism.
Optimism. Excellent. What's the attitude you're going to need?
Self-motivation.
Self-motivation. Absolutely. So now we're going to put the individual human potential formula together because it will predict what you achieve in this lifetime. So my major definite purpose, we can also call it a single defining focus, is to become the world's #1 business coach, specialising in emotional intelligence. And when I look at my individual human potential formula, I say my inborn attribute comes from my father, that I can wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. I can work all day till 11 o'clock at night. And to have that eye of my mother that has the ability to build $1 million businesses. With my acquired attributes of leading a team of more than 17,000 cabin crew, of understanding personal psychology, sales psychology, and the attitude of being unstoppable. And with all of that, I believe that will get me to become the world's #1 business coach, specialising in emotional intelligence. Do you think I can get there on that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's about 25%. Let me ask you again. Do you think I can get there on that? Absolutely, I will. So I want you to explain your formula to the person next to you with these inborn attributes and these acquired attributes and this attitude I'm going to be able to achieve that in my lifetime. Make sense? With these inborn attributes plus my acquired attributes multiplied by my attitude, I'm going to achieve that. And I guarantee you can achieve so much more. If you want to become a billionaire, you've already got these inborn attributes, these acquired attributes, and that attitude that will get you there. Okay, so think it through, then tell the person next to you, this is what I'm going to do in my life. Okay, 30 seconds. Go for it.
Feel great.
Be confident when you say this. Good.
I don't know if that's good or not,
Okay, swap over. Make sure the other person gets 30 seconds. You're clear on yours? Okay. Okay, let's hear some of these. We're going to go around very quickly and let's just get some clarity here. Okay. You haven't worked yours out. Okay, Isaac, what are you going to achieve?
Mine is, the number one business turnaround expert in Australia.
Excellent. And what are the inborn attributes that you're going to use to get there?
Yeah, so having, good people person. That's what my dad was. And then I guess the things I've learned along the way, being born in a third world country, speaking another language, so adaptability, I can adapt to different people from all walks of life. The things that I need to work on is having that confidence when approaching a prospect that I've actually got the solution that they need, instead of psyching myself out and thinking, I might not be the best solution out there. So, yeah.
Good. Do you think he can get there to be Australia's number one business turnaround expert? Of course he can. Okay. You haven't got yours? Okay. What have you got? Inborn attributes.
From my parents, optimism.
Optimism.
And perseverance.
Okay, excellent. Two excellent qualities. And what are the acquired attributes?
I need to be more disciplined and adaptable to change my bad habits.
Okay. What are some of the things you've learned over the years? What are these acquired attributes? What have you studied?
I studied marketing and then I'm learning coding now.
Okay.
During my free times after work.
Excellent.
I got a full-time job and I'll come home, go to gym, then I'll start learning coding.
Okay. And what's the attitude that you're going to have to approach?
That's discipline.
Discipline?
That's why I put it as my acquired attributes, because you need to be consistent. It's not about how much you do in one day. It's all about how much you can commit yourself into something that you are doing in the long run. So that is called grit.
What I've discovered over the years is I've never met a successful person who is not disciplined. And I've never met a failure who's disciplined. Have you? So discipline, excellent. And where do you want to be? What are you shooting towards? What do you want in this lifetime?
Lifetime or just...
What's your major definite purpose? What's that one thing you're aiming for?
To be a better version of myself every day.
Okay, good. Will he get there? Yeah. Absolutely. Good job. Now, you need to have a formula. Now, what we've discovered is that the fear of rejection is one of the biggest mental and emotional blockages for all adults. It happens in our relationships. We see a cute girl, but I don't want to approach her because she might say no. You meet a handsome guy and you want to approach him and say hello, but the fear of rejection kicks in. You want to pick up the phone and call somebody, you found their name in the paper, they're going to liquidation, and you know you can save them, and you think, what if they say no? Now, the reason why the fear of failure comes up is because all of you have been told by your parents the word no. You've been told what not to do, how you shouldn't do something. You've heard it from your teachers the whole life. The average person in society has heard the word no 148,000 times before the age of 18. And what happens is when we hear the word no, it causes this fear of rejection to rise up in us. And what happens is then we seek to avoid getting a no. We put ourselves out of danger's way, because what happens is we then connect no with pain, no with a form of death of a situation or a circumstance, a relationship, whatever it might be, an opportunity. So these thoughts, the fear of hearing the word no triggers off the fear of rejection. And remember, we talked about this before. We've got to be aware of this is inside of all of us. We have to be able to regulate that feeling. And I'm going to give you a formula to do that. Everything starts with a thought in emotional intelligence. You have more than 90,000 thoughts per day. Did you know that? I stood there one day and I had a little clicker and I went click, 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 and no, I didn't. It'd be a long time, wouldn't it? But the average person has 90,000 thoughts a day. And about 70 to 80% of those thoughts are counterintuitive. You say, oh, look, there's $1 million idea. Why don't you follow it? Oh, it must be my idea. It must be a shocker. Did you know the average American drives around every year and they have 4 $1 million ideas? The same things happen to you. You think, oh my gosh, this would be a great invention. But I thought of it, it'll be no good. A couple of years later, you see it out there on the shelves. I remember I was about 7 and I had this dream that I knew the lottery numbers. But I'm 7, I can't gamble. And I saw all these lottery numbers popping out of that little machine with the balls. And I saw them in my mind. I went to school, thought I should buy a lottery ticket. Oh, I'm 18. I'm not 18, I shouldn't do that. Should I tell mum and dad? No, they'll think I'm crazy. I came home that night and each of those numbers pop, 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 pop out of the lottery. It was $1 million lottery. And what happens is it's been proven. The average person has $4 million ideas every year. But because of fears of failure and fears of rejections and counterfactual thinking, we say, it won't work for me. Now, those thoughts produce 95% of your feelings. Psychologists tell us that your thoughts impact 95% of your feelings. So if you don't know what you're thinking, you can't control your thoughts. And those feelings determine the actions that you do and don't take in your life. Has anybody here procrastinated? Has anybody procrastinated before? You said you'd do something and you didn't do it? Well, you've never procrastinated? Ever? In your whole life? Must be a genius. Everybody procrastinates. We say, I'll have to think about it a little bit longer. Then we come up with very interesting excuses so we don't have to do things. So these thoughts, let's say you're thinking, oh, this person's going to say no. The feeling of rejection comes up. And what happens, Isaac? Do you pick up the phone or not?
I'll just check the email.
You check the email, you go get a coffee, all of a sudden you've got to go to the bathroom. Oh, how convenient, lunchtime. And what happens is you go into avoidance behaviours. Does this make sense? Yes, you want to talk to a cute guy and you walk up and then you walk back and you go and do your lipstick again. Yes, ladies, true? Yes, I check my lipstick all the time. Anyway, we start to go into avoidance behaviours, and then your actions determine your outcomes. See, millionaires think differently. Millionaires feel differently. Millionaires take different actions so they can become millionaires. And all you have to discover is, what are the thoughts the most successful people have? What do they think about most of the time? Would you like to know? Would you like to know what millionaires think about most of the time? They think about what they want and how they're going to get it. And their single defining focus is that goal. And they only think about their goal. They only think about how they're going to get it. And they ask themselves, is what I'm doing right now leading to a sale? Is what I'm doing right now leading to a result? Is what I'm doing right now helping my business grow, succeed, or is what I'm doing right now causing me to fail? And what they'll do is they will then take the appropriate action. The only reason why you're not a self-made millionaire yet is because you haven't figured out what they think about most of the time. But if you find a mentor and you ask them, what do you think about most of the time? They will tell you, this is what I think about most of the time. And that will tell you how they feel about themselves. Successful people fear failure, but you know what? They take action in spite of that fear. Where the majority of the population, they're like a deer in the headlights. They freeze and they go into the fight, flight, or freeze response. So those actions end up determining your outcomes. The size of the house you live in. When you were growing up, you want to live on the house on the hill, you want to live in a castle, you want to marry a prince, you want to be a billionaire. And then we get a couple of setbacks and we say, I don't want to be a billionaire anymore. I'd be happy to be a millionaire. You go out into the workplace, things that you try fail, then you say, you know what? I'd be happy with earning 500 grand a year. And then you get a couple of other knockbacks and you say, you know what? I think I'll just be happy with $100,000 a year and I'll live in that little rented place over there. And instead of having the Ferrari or the Range Rover, I'll catch the train for the rest of my life because I'm all about saving the planet. And we get excuse-itis. Are you familiar with this? We talk ourselves out of things. Do you know what excuse-itis is? Do you know what excuse-itis is?
Excuses?
Yes, it's an inflammation of the excuse-making gland and it makes you sick. So the law of self-control, if you can control your thoughts, you can change what you're going to get in the future. Enjoying yourself so far? Does anybody need a refund? No refunds? Okay, good. Social IQ. This is the crux of it. 85% of all success in life is going to come from these two areas here, according to Daniel Goleman of Harvard University. The first skill is empathy. Empathy is the ability to look at somebody and read their emotional makeup. And your social skills are your ability to communicate with people. And today, 99% of mistakes that are made in business are communication mistakes. You misinterpret what somebody says to you. You say something and they misinterpret it. This is where all mistakes are. So we're going to learn to communicate effectively. I'm going to give you a sentence and I'm going to show you how to use the English language. In the Chinese language, we have how many tones?
4.
5. We have one that's a no tone that ends up with 5. But in the English language, we have how many tones? 3. There's only 3 tones in the English language. We have what's called a question tonality. And at the end of the sentence, our voice goes up. That's a question tonality. We then have a statement tonality, where our voice remains the same from start to finish. And then we have a command tonality. And this is where the voice goes down at the end. And depending on how you use your voice will determine how people respond to you. So I want you to close your eyes. Please, no peeping. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. And I want you to notice how this feels. Okay, close your eyes. Can we start this Tuesday? Can we start this Tuesday? Open your eyes. How did that feel? Can we start this Tuesday? How did it make you feel? Unsure. Okay, close your eyes. Can we start this Tuesday? Can we start this Tuesday? Notice how it feels. Open your eyes. How did it feel, Toba?
It feels unsure.
Unsure. Confused, unsure. Close your eyes one more time. Can we start this Tuesday? Can we start this Tuesday? How did that make you feel?
Let's do it on Tuesday.
Let's do it on Tuesday. See, what happens is when we use a question tonality, it goes up. And most Aussies go up at the end of the sentence. Hey, mate, how you going? Eh? And they speak really fast and they go, hey, how you going? And you're like, are you asking me a question or are you telling me something? When it goes up at the end, people think you're asking them a question. When it goes flat, people are waiting to hear something else. But when you say, can we start this Tuesday? It's a command. And they say, yes. Sir, I'd like to do business with you. Sir, I'd like to do business with you. They'd be like, is he sure? I'd like to do business with you. I'd like to do business with you. How do you feel?
Sounds common.
It's commanding. And the most powerful way to use your voice is to command. Let's go to war. Let's go to war. Let's go to war. Difference, isn't it? So you've got to learn to use your tones. So what I want you to do with the person next to you, say to them, can we start this Tuesday? And go up and notice how it feels. Then say, can we start this Tuesday? And then the third one, say, can we start this Tuesday? And notice how it feels. 30 seconds each, 60 seconds in total. Try it. This will change your life. One thing can change your life.
Can we start this Tuesday?
Would you like to come to the meeting this Tuesday?
Can we start this Tuesday? Women do that a lot. They do lilt. Yeah. Also the men.
Would you like to join BX?
Please.
Would you like to join BX? Yeah, next week. Would you like to join BX? I would. And this is the tone. We need it in BX. Would you like to come for breakfast?
Please. Yeah.
Can we start this Tuesday?
Excellent. Big difference. Dad, would you like to give me some pocket money? Dad, would you like to give me some pocket money? Yes, daughter, I will. There's the wallet. Okay, how did you enjoy the exercise? Did you notice a difference? Did you notice a difference? It happens immediately. And any one of these ideas is enough to help you get better results in your career or your personal life. But it comes down to our language. And we're talking all day, aren't we? We're talking from the moment we get up to the moment that we go to sleep. And we didn't realise there was 3 tones, but now you do. So you've got a competitive advantage. You're going to hear this in other people. And then you're going to start to say to your dad, Dad, give me some money. And he'll pull out and he'll say, sweetheart, how much do you want? Use it like that. Good. Now, what we're going to be mindful of is the way we use our body. And our communication, 55% of our communication is our body language. 38% is our tone of voice, And 7% is the words that we speak. So there's no excuse about saying, English is my second or third or fourth language. It doesn't matter. 55% of your conversation and your communication is your body language. I don't even need to ask you, I just go like this. 55% is communication. So what we're going to be mindful of is that when we communicate with people, we have to be very mindful of the message that our body language sends out. Now, I was at a breakfast meeting this morning and this gentleman came up to me and he stood like this. How do you feel?
It's very uncomfortable.
But we've been friends all morning. You enjoyed your class and now you're saying it's uncomfortable. And what have I said anything to upset her?
I don't know you like that.
So this guy did this to me and I took a step back and he took a step closer. And I took a step back and he took a step closer. And then my back was against the wall and it was like this and I was really uncomfortable. But see, he couldn't even realise what he was doing to me because each person has their own personal space. And if we get too close to somebody and we're trying to communicate and trying to do business, they go, if I have to do business with this person, I never want to be around them. So we're going to be very mindful of the distance we have. See, automatically she just moved in a little bit. So we can be too close or we can be too far away. Does this look comfortable from here?
No.
Does this look comfortable?
A little bit.
Does this look more comfortable? Does that feel better?
Yeah.
And so even the angle we stand,
Yeah, it's a bit much.
see automatically, she just stepped back. 55% of our communication is our body language. So I'd like you to do one exercise. Thank you so much. I'd like you to stand up and I'd like to teach you something. So maybe we can stand in the middle here. We'll put half the people on the right-hand side of the room, half the people on the left-hand side. So if we can just step into the aisle here and just have 2 lines. You might have to make eye contact for this one. Okay, so just make sure you're standing across from somebody, directly across from somebody. Have we got even numbers? Has everybody got a partner to stand next to or across from? Okay, good. So what I want you to do is the people on my right, I want you to put your right hand up like that, just like me. Good. Now the people across from us, I want you to put your right hand up like this. This is what we call matching. Okay? Our bodies are a match. Our right hands are up. What happens here, our unconscious mind looks across at the other person and says, we're like each other because birds of a feather flock together. Okay. Now the people next to me on my right, leave your right hands up. People to our opposite us, put your left hand up. Put your right hand down and your left hand up. This is called mirroring. So our unconscious mind looks across and says, you're the same as me. You're mirroring me. And this is called a mirror neuron. And just watch how fast we can get rapport and break rapport. So please put your arms down. What I want you to do is I want you to stand across from the person next to you and just the people on the right hand side, try to make your body look like theirs. Have your feet the same distance apart. Have your arms hanging in the same place. Okay? You need a lot more. Need a donor. Okay. Does that feel comfortable? It's okay? It doesn't feel threatening? Okay, good. Everybody on my right hand side, on the count of 3, I want you to cross your arms and take half a step forward. Okay? 1, 2, 3.
Wow. Intimidating.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Interesting, isn't it? So what we know is 55% of our communication is our body language. And by getting too close to people and just simply crossing your arm, you can alienate the other person. There's no reason to feel that way, but the body language puts them into shock. And their body goes into the sympathetic functioning, which is stress. And what they want to do is they want to run. And if you can avoid doing that, you'll have a lot of success in your careers. Please have a seat. Thank you so much. So as you're sitting down, what we have to do in life is we just have to do what successful people do. And if we do what successful people do, we will get the same results. And social intelligence, having self-awareness, knowing why you think and feel the way that you do. Having self-regulation, the ability to control your thoughts and your feelings. The ability to stay motivated for long periods of times when things aren't going your way and not losing your enthusiasm is incredibly important. You've learned your individual human potential. You know you can be so much further along the path of success than you are today. And you've got so many qualities, you've got so many inborn attributes, you've got so many acquired attributes. And the attitude, you can change at any given time. Our attitude is our angle of approach. So stop and ask yourself, how am I approaching this? Am I approaching it with fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of failure? Or am I approaching it with, you know what, I'm going to give this my best. I'm going to do my absolute best in this situation. And remember, your attitude is under your control, 100%. You've also got the law of self-control. If you're feeling those fears of rejection, go back to what your thoughts are. Change your thoughts. Your thoughts determine 95% of your feelings. Don't try to change your feelings. You'll be in therapy for years. I know people, they say it takes 50 years to get over the first 5 years of your life, and that's where people stay in therapy. Change the way you think. You can control this, and that influences that. You can't get courage out of a bottle, you can't get courage out of a pill. But if you think courageous thoughts, if you act courageously, courage will follow you around. So you're in complete control of that. You also have your level of empathy. You have to be able to look at people. You have to be able to read them. If you're standing too close and they're feeling uncomfortable, take a step back. And then be mindful of the tones that you use. Would you like to go out on a date? Would you like to go out on a date? And make sure you use the correct tones. And then finally, beware of your body language. It's 55% of your communication. Your body language is 55% of your message. Your word is 7%. Your tone is 38%. And remember these things and you can create incredible success. So I hope these ideas have been valuable and that they will contribute to a lot of career success. And let me wrap up by saying the highest income earning years of your life are out there in the future. the highest level of success in your life is still yet to come. And what we know is your future is only limited to your imagination. And your imagination is totally unlimited. So I hope these ideas help you along the way, and I hope that you have a wonderful life. Thanks for joining us today.